open at 4 p.m. I'd like to welcome councillors and staff, and a special welcome to Sharon Cook and Anthony Taylor. Shane, my apologies, that are joining us in the gallery this afternoon. Disclaimer, members of the public are advised that recommendations to council contained within this agenda can be subject to change. Applicants and other interested parties should refrain from taking any action until written advice is received confirming council's decision with respect to any particular issue. Any statement or insinuation of approval regarding any planning or development application made during an ordinary council meeting is not to be taken as notice of approval. Anyone who has an application lodged with the Shire must obtain and should only rely on written confirmation of the outcome of the application and any conditions attached to the decision made by council. Council members and the community are reminded that should an exemption resolution be passed, this has the effect of making the decision to accept the officer's recommendation stated in the agenda as the council's decision without change. An audio and visual record will be made by means of live streaming, and these proceedings will be uploaded to the Shire's YouTube page for viewing. Acknowledgement of country. The Shire of Harvey acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land and their continuing connection to the land, waters and community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal communities and their cultures, and to elders past, present and emerging. Motion to suspend Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5. I put forward the following: that Council suspend Standing Orders Part 8, Clause 8.5. Members to indicate their intention to speak and to rise when speaking, to allow members to remain seated when speaking in order to approve the quality of the audio recording of the meeting. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Holly. Any debate? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Record of apologies. Councillor Hitchcock is on her way. She will be about 10 minutes late. Leave of absence. Councillor Crispin is on authorised leave of absence. Applications for leave of absence. Do we have any applications, councillors? Nil? Declarations of members and officers' personal interests. As per the screen, councillors, are there any others? Councillors, can you please note in regard to officers' recommendation for item 12.4.4 and 12.5.2, they've been split in order to allow Councillor Coleman's financial and indirect financial interests to take place. Do you have a question?
No, I sent in an email last week indicating that I had some interest in passage interests that should have been. Are they in there? Sorry, yeah, right at the bottom. No worries. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, point 5, questions by members of which due notice has been given is nil. 6, response to previous questions taken on notice is nil. 7, public question time is nil. 8, petitions, deputations and presentations. I welcome Mr Tim Devray to come forward. He has a deputation in regards to electric vehicles. Welcome, Mr Devray.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak. It's great to hear the Shire has adopted an EV strategy to improve the fleet with more electric vehicles. As there is a lot of misinformation about electric vehicles, I thought as an EV driver with a positive experience it might be helpful to talk today. 6 years ago, I joined the Electric Vehicle Association to learn about EVs. 5 years ago, I purchased a Hyundai Kona 100% electric vehicle and have now travelled 158,000 kilometres. Most of our vehicle charging is from our 5.6 solar system we already had on the roof of our property. Public charging is also an essential part of the mix. and we had no problem driving to Adelaide recently to visit relatives. A mix of solar, biofuel and diesel-powered generators across the way. For me, getting a solar system and an EV was not about saving money, but about reducing the damage to our planet. We have disconnected our house gas main and not purchased 14 tonnes of petrol it would have taken to run my car over the last 5 years. It has saved us about $20,000 over the last 5 years by not purchasing and burning fossil fuels, and will save us another $20,000 over the next 5 years. The Kona EV can travel about 400 kilometres of highway driving on full charge. I expect the battery will still be going in 15 years with some reduced capacity. Our second car is a 12-year-old Nissan Leaf, still going well on its original battery. I now represent the Electric Vehicle Association at events and have invited councillors and some staff to attend, but with our busy lives I thought it would be simpler to come here today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Devrain. When you start putting numbers like that towards it, you can see there are some benefits, and I'm sure Councillor Carboni will be happy to hear those numbers. So are there any questions, councillors? Councillor Brommer.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. I just wondered, what was the charging times for your vehicles on stops? Obviously, you go a certain distance.
Obviously varies depending on the charging capacity and the type of vehicle you have, but about an hour, which is insignificant when you're travelling for 30 hours or so across the Nullarbor. You do need to plan your trip a little bit differently, but I do about 30,000 kilometres a year around Western Australia, Merredin, Kalgoorlie. I go to events at Esperance, easily travelling there in a day and charging no problem at all. And currently the price war on EVs is really making a difference with Teslas now, Tesla Model 3 and Tesla Model Y, both under $60,000.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devrain. Okay, announcements by presiding member or CEO without discussion. Councillors, I just want to let you know that on the 10th of May I attended the Bunbury Geograph Sports Award, which is hosted by the City of Bunbury, and the Shire of Harvey did extremely well. So the Para-Athlete of the Year was Miranda Kiewit from the Shire. The Coach of the Year went to Tana Cam, which you probably recall she received an award last year. And the Miles Junior Sports Star of the Year award went to Jay Fofa, all from the Shire of Harvey. So congratulations to those recipients. CEO, do you have anything? Thank you. Confirmation of minutes. So councillors, we've got the ordinary council meeting minutes from Tuesday the 23rd of April. We have an officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover for those minutes? Councillor Coleman, seconder, Councillor Holly. Any discussion? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. We also have the minutes and recommendations from the Bushfire Advisory Committee. Now there's an amended officer's recommendation in regards to this one, as we had to identify the appointment of the fire control officers. So that will be up on the screen. So the motion is as read. Do I have a mover for those? Councillor Bromham, a seconder. Councillor Coleman, any discussion in regards to this? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. By absolute majority. Thank you. CEO. CEO's reporting is nil. 12.2 Infrastructure Services. Braidwood Drive, Borwin Road and Leisure Drive proposed traffic safety improvements. We have an officer's recommendation in front of us. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Bromham, seconder. Councillor Capra-Grego. Likely to be any discussion in regards to this? No? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 12.2.2 Lot 200, Nicholson Road, Cookinup, proposed road widening and dedication of land. We have an officer's recommendation there. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Dickinson, seconder Councillor Capragrego. Likely to be any discussion? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we have a late report here from Sustainable Development 12.3.1, which is the final adoption of reviewed local plan policies. We have an officer's recommendation in front of us. Do we have a mover, please? Councillor Dickinson, seconder, Councillor Bromham. Likely to be any discussion? No? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Corporate Services, item 12.4.1, financial statements as at the 30th of April 2024. We have the officer's recommendation. Do I have a mover? Councillor Holly, seconder. Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion, councillors? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 12.4.2. Payments for April 2024. Officer's recommendation there. Do I have a mover? Councillor Capragrego, seconder. Councillor Bromham. Any discussion, councillors? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Bit slow. Thank you, Joe. 12.4.3. Forward Capital Works Plan 2024 to 2029. We have an officer's recommendation that we adopt the Forward Capital Works. Do I have a mover for this, councillors?
Question?
I'll move it first and a seconder. Councillor Coleman, moving. Councillor Coleman?
Yes.
Seconder, Councillor Dickinson. Question, Councillor Bromham?
Yeah, I noticed at the end of it in the proposal for the new playground in Harvey that it didn't comply with the playground policy. I think it was number 21 that we look for some type of funding to assist in the process. I just wondered why we didn't do that.
Are you just seeking clarification?
Yeah, I am. I'm
in
seeking
regards to the grant, identifying grant funding?
Yeah, it says we should identify grant funding, but what we're doing is taking money out of our bank account and just paying for it. I wonder why we weren't looking for grant funding, as that's part of our policy.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, basically 24-25 in the Forward Capital Works Plan, there's some money there to look at the design and you know, a few other bits and pieces like that, approvals and whatnot. And in the following financial year, we've got some funds allocated there, which include muni and grant funding. We have had a meeting with Lottery West and the residents that put the proposal forward. They were quite amenable to the proposal, given that it's going to be fully accessible and whatnot. So we just have to work through a process. We've already come up with a simple concept and a footprint layout, which we need to refer to Lottery West. So yeah, so they said obviously there's a 12-month process in terms of getting approval and funding and whatnot. So yeah, that's why we've earmarked some funding for 25-26, and the residents were aware of that. And there's an allocation there of part muni, part grant, but we don't know what sort of grant we're going to get, so whatever we get, we're hoping to get a reasonable amount, which will reduce the amount we have to put in, but the grant won't fully fund it.
All right, thank you for that. I just wondered why it wasn't in the grant section or some indication that we were looking for a grant, that's all. All right, thank you.
Any further questions, councillors? Okay, we've got a mover, Councillor Coleman, seconded Councillor Dickinson. No further discussion. We'll put the Forward Capital Works to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 12.4.4, which is the proposed fees and charges. We've received an addendum in regards to this one, in regards to the Shire of Harvey Halls. one hall was omitted. I think it was Roland, so we've put that one in so that you would have received an addendum. As I said, councillors, this is split into two parts. So the officer's recommendation 1 of 2, which basically adopts the schedule of fees and charges. Do I have a mover for those? Councillor Bromham. Seconder, Councillor Capra-Grego. Is there any discussion in regards to the fees and charges? We need an absolute majority in regards to this one. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. All right. Officer's recommendation 2 of 2. I'll ask Councillor Coleman to step out. This is in regard to the line item 2.8.8 registration of B&B accommodation, and line item 2.7.5, which is the medium risk assessment fee as part of the schedule of fees and charges. So do I have a mover for these two line items? Councillor Bromham. A seconder? Councillor Holly. Is there any discussion around these items? I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. By absolute majority. Thank you. And yes, we'll get Councillor Coleman back in. Both of those were carried, Councillor Coleman.
Thank you.
Okay, 12.4.5, Proposed Revenue and Rating Plan 24-25. We have an officer's recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Carboni, a seconder. Councillor Bromham. Any discussion, councillors? Any questions? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Community and Lifestyle 12.5.1, which is the Shire of Harvey Community Awards. We've got an officer's recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover? Councillor Coleman, seconder Councillor Holly. Are there any questions, councillors? There is a confidential attachment, so is it in relation to a recipient, or it is? Then I might move this item to behind closed doors. Yeah.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Yeah, okay then. So councillors will move this item to behind closed doors and discuss it further. Now, but then yeah, because we've got another one.
Yeah, those doors. Yeah. So we can move it to the agenda to 1.1.1.
All right, councillor, so I'll put forth a motion that we move this item to behind closed doors, item 17. I'll move that. Do I have a seconder? Thanks, Councillor Dickinson. Any discussion? I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. So we'll move that to item 17.1. All right. Thank you for that. 12.5.2, Shire of Harvey Community Grant Program. Once again, this is in two parts. So recommendation 1 of 2, we'll ask Councillor Coleman just to step out. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Coleman. This is to do in regards to the Harvey Men's Shed. We have a recommendation here that a separate report be brought to council and that the CEO bring a report back in relation to the Harvey Men's Shed. So do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Bromham, a seconder. Councillor Boyland, any discussion in regards to this? Put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Sunil. Thank you, councillor Coleman, and that one was carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Recommendation 2 of 2. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Dickinson, a seconder. Councillor Carboni. Is there likely to be any discussion or questions, councillors? No? Very good. I'm going to put this one to the vote. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. May I say well done to our grants officer in putting all those together. I think we got the most grant applications for this round of grant funding, so well done. Thank you. Okay, item 12.5.3, policy 3.1.4, welcome to country and acknowledgement of country. We've got an officer's recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover for this? Councillor Dickinson, a seconder. Councillor Junio. Councillors, is there likely to be any discussion? Okay, I'll just put it through to Councillor Dickinson. Did you wish to speak first?
I just think that it's interesting that it has come around this week when it's Reconciliation Week, but I hope that councillors will support the recommendation. Staff have liaised with the Aboriginal corporations in the area, and so I believe that we now are able to move forward with this in the correct manner and in the due process that is required. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Dickinson. Councillor Junio, did you wish to speak as seconder?
Yes. Well, I believe that, we have, like what Councillor Dickinson says, we have consulted the Aboriginal community. We have done consultation with them. And also, as we have referred previously during the agenda briefing, that in the Local Government Act of 1995, we have the need to recognize a particular interest of our Aboriginal people and to involve Aboriginal people in decision-making process. So we have done that. And even if it's not stipulated that, it has to be welcome of country, I think this is one important factor for them and in the community to have something like that to recognize the traditional owners of this land. So I think that would be a good thing to support this. Thank you.
Okay, speakers against or questions? Councillor Carboni.
Thank you, Madam President. I've been elected 4 times to this council, and I've been elected, in my view, because I represent the views of the community. Of course, we don't know what the view of our ratepayers are because the majority of you chose not to put this to a poll of our community. But of course, there was a big poll Australia-wide, which was the referendum, and we all know what a resounding result that was in the negative. Now, I'm a strong believer in a One Australia, and as I said at the November council meeting, I think this is doing the Aboriginal cause more harm than it is good now. People are sick of it. This virtue signalling and tokenism is starting to wear thin everywhere now. Now, I'm going to put my glasses on. With this policy in particular, I have a problem with the money. $680 to do a 5 or 10 minute welcome to country, and there is no time limit in this policy, by the way. So it could go for 5 minutes, it could go for an hour. And I certainly don't want to sit through another 45 minutes like I did at the WA Week dinner to be lectured on injustices of the past. I just don't want to do it. So there's no parameters around the time frame of what's said in this policy at all. And $680 for a privileged few to get, I have a problem with. This $680 is only going to go to a privileged few in the Harvey Shire who attend the Shire events to do it. Now, if we were to put a pool of money aside for Aboriginal children or kids or people to better their education, to go on sports clinics or to do something to better their lives, I'd put 2 hands up and vote for it. If we wanted to put $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, a pool of money aside that Aboriginal people could access, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with $680 for 5 minutes work. Shire President and myself attended a JDAP meeting the other day. We had to read a bunch of documents this thick in our own time. I drove from Bunbury to Harvey to sit through a 2-hour meeting for $333 and drive back to my work at Bunbury for $333. 4 hours of work there that we did as a part of a JDAP hearing. $680 is just absurd. You know, translate that to an hourly rate of $6,000 an hour. No one gets that. I've been dead against this policy. You only had to hear me speak what I spoke about in November at the ordinary council meeting in November last year, and you'll know my views, and I'm not going to go over it again. In conclusion, the Aboriginal population is only one race of a very multicultural country that we live in now. There's a lot of sad cases, and as you've seen, we've been bringing in a lot of Palestinian refugees with the Gaza conflict that's going on over there. In this shire in particular, and I'll conclude on this, and Councillor Capagregor, you can relate to this, and so can Councillor Holly through his marriage. When are the Italians going to get recognised in this shire? When are we going to hoist an Italian flag up in front of every council building in this shire? Because the Italians in the Harvey Shire, whether it be transport companies in Brunswick, the Sorgiovannis in Harvey with Harvey Fresh, the Italianos up and down the Benja straight through farming, the Forenzas and Ferraros in Yarloop farming and all that, the Italian heritage, there's not even one street named after an Italian in this shire. So I'll just, in conclusion here, say there's other nationalities. I get the Aboriginal cause. Is this going to benefit this tokenism, this statement that was said at the beginning of this meeting that everyone's sick of hearing, that means nothing now? Is that going to improve the one life of an Aboriginal person? No, it's not. If we had a fund, a pool of money that they could access, yeah, that would, but not this, and that's why I'm against this policy.
Speaker for. Speaker against. Councillor Capagregor.
Thanks. I speak against it because I don't like the way that it's laid out. And I think that there is a lot of times when we need to acknowledge the traditional landowners of this country. But I don't believe that we need to be using that paragraph. We'll just call it a paragraph for now. Every time we meet. And what I find is really disrespectful to the Aboriginal community is that when a person decides that they want to have a go at reading it in a language that they're not able to even decipher, I think that's disrespectful. And I agree that we are overusing it. And I find that when we are overusing it, that people don't even listen to it. They just say, oh, here we go again. And I find that disrespectful to Aboriginal people. When you look around the room and people are just rolling their eyes. So I would like that the policy actually be more specific. I mean, we say we've got a list of times in there when we'll use it, but we also say that it's on the agenda of all Shire documents, meetings. Now, I just think that there is a good example of overuse. And I respect that the fact that we have got an Indigenous race that we need to respect. And I also respect, as was Councillor Carboni saying, that the people that came here, the immigrants that came to this country and built the country with assistance of all types of culture, we never acknowledge them. But that's something that is Australia-wide, and I don't think that will ever be rectified. But I just would like to see that we pay the respect correctly and that we use it at the right time when it actually has meaning, not for the sake of saying, oh, well, we have done our part, we've read out the acknowledgement of the country for everything we do. And I'm talking now Shire businesses, right? Shire meetings and that. I just think that we need to be respectful and use it appropriately, but not for it to be on every time we read a set of minutes out
that it's been put in the minutes, and that the person who is chairing the meeting is now saying, well, I have to read it out because it's on the minutes. And it really doesn't mean anything to me. So I think that the policy, even though I think it needs a bit more work, I don't believe that it clearly outlines the use of the acknowledgement country. I think it's just hasn't changed from when we discussed it last year. You know, so I would like to see that it's more user purpose, fit for purpose. Thank you.
Speaker for. Speaker against. Councillor Holly.
This is, and I back Craig 100% in November. I still back him. It almost saddens me that I've lost friends because it has happened. You know, because I voted against it, and I have my reasons of the no vote, etc., etc. I reckon I would get asked 2 or 3 times a week to explain why we do have it in everything, in every bit of paper that comes out from the Shire. It's just about on there, emails, etc., etc. But I just find it disappointing that it's been taken personal because of our beliefs, and like Craig said and Joe said, you know, we do have the ethnic side of the Italian side of things as well. There's Greeks everywhere else, and those sorts of sort of people. And I just think it's being overlooked, the real reason for it. I was at 4 functions on the weekend. There was 4 different welcomes to countries, and I reckon you know, I struggle with reading, but they were just reading it off, and it certainly wasn't from the heart. There you go. So I think when we do it, and no disrespect to you, Madam President, but we're just reading it off a bit of paper, and it doesn't mean anything because most people don't listen to it. And I'm sorry that's the way it is, but yeah, it's disheartening that people take it to person by the person when I'm only trying to speak for people in our Shire and our community.
Speaker for. Question, Councillor Coleman.
Thanks, Madam President. Is there an opportunity for us? I acknowledge the arguments presented. What I would like to see, rather than take out a welcome to country and remove reference to our Indigenous people, perhaps we could find a more inclusive way to include the founders, the founding families of Harvey, so more inclusive. Is there an opportunity to defer this item and rework it rather than have a cut-off, all or nothing approach?
Unless there's an alternative motion put forward. However, if I can respond to that question, this was presented at a concept forum for discussion by councillors, and we had it at the agenda briefing, so there was opportunities to ask questions there. So now we're looking at a suggestion in regards to deferring it or changing the wording. The policy gets reviewed every 3 years, and there's also the opportunity for councillors to put forward a notice of motion at some stage in order for it perhaps to be reviewed along those lines as you mentioned, Councillor Coleman. So at this moment we have a mover and a seconder for the current officer's recommendation. So we could foreshadow an alternative if this one doesn't get up, if you're prepared to do that. Or we will continue with the debate in regards to as the officer's recommendation currently sits.
Thanks, Madam President. I'm just, I'm more concerned at the toning rather than the wording. So I'm happy to foreshadow a motion that if this doesn't go through, that we rework it for perhaps a more inclusive policy and bring it back to council.
So we'll just make sure we get the wording correct on that, Councillor Coleman.
That we defer it until, when do you suggest? June, July, perhaps?
I would suggest that if councils wish to workshop this policy again, then that would need to be at the earliest conducted in June, before it could be brought back potentially the following month. It depends on the workload of staff in regards to the timing. Can I ask the co-director?
Thank you. Through the chair, I would suggest yes, if councillors have a mind to workshop the policy so that we can get some direction around the inclusion aspect of the policy, then July would be the earliest OCM that we could bring it to.
Thank you. I'm happy with what's on the screen if that suits you, Madam President.
Yep, so councillors, that will be the foreshadowed motion should this one not get up. All right, so speaker for, speaker against. I'll speak for the motion in regards to the fact that I've done some consultation along with the CEO, with our elders. This policy was developed with a lot of their contribution. They did acknowledge that there is overuse of the welcome to country, and I think this policy is a good start to moving forward in regards to continuing this particular acknowledgement to our First Nations people. They did stipulate that there are key activities that a welcome to country was very important to them, such as the citizenship ceremonies, and that's been incorporated. And they did in our discussions acknowledge that in some cases they even felt that there was an overuse of the welcome to country. I think this policy, the review of this policy, is a really good start for us to move forward, and I therefore support the work that our staff have done in putting this policy together for us, and it's a good starting point for us to move forward in collaboration with our First Nations. So I will be supporting this this policy. Any further speakers against? Councillor Dickinson? No, you've already spoken, Councillor Holly.
Sorry.
Councillor Dickinson, did you want to finish up?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd just like to reiterate that, yes, this has been developed with consultation with the elders. The clarification of the use of the acknowledgement of country has been clarified so that we have guidelines now on the usage of it to allay some of the concerns that councillors have said in their belief of it being overused. I disagree with the statement that people don't respect this, because I've been at meetings and in the community and I've observed people that they actually do respect when this is said, and they actually pass comments, that was a really good welcome for country. I've had that said on numerous occasions where I have heard it, and we are supposed to represent the community. Some members of our community have a voice and are able to speak loudly for themselves. Some members are not able to speak loudly, and they choose us to speak on their behalf. And I believe that today I'm speaking on the behalf of people that I know and that I have spoken to, in that this clarifies the use, and I support this motion.
Thanks, Councillor Dickinson. Okay, councillors, we've got an officer's recommendation in front of us. I'm going to put it to the vote. All those in favour, show your hands, please. Against?
So
Okay. We're going to put that vote again. So all those in favour, show your hands please. Against? I support the motion. I'm casting vote today, so I'll support the motion. Thank you. All right. 13, elected members' motions of which previous notice has been given is nil. 14, notice of motion for the following meeting. Councillor Bromham has put forward... Pardon?
Yeah, I've got one too, sorry.
Okay, so Councillor Bromham has put forth a notice of motion for next month's meeting, and Councillor Caboni, you have one as well?
Yes, Madam President, that Shire staff conduct a preliminary feasibility study into whether it would be economical for the Brunswick Recreation Centre to become compliant for basketball and netball, so it could be utilised as an additional court by the Leschenault Sports Centre manager. And two, that the Brunswick Cricket Ground also be investigated as to whether it is compliant as an additional cricket ground to be utilised by the Leschenault Sports Centre manager.
Right, you'll put that through in writing to... Thank you. Okay, reports of members. Hopefully they have been sent in. Councillors, is there anyone that wishes to report anything? No? Thank you. New business of an urgent nature introduced by decision of meeting is nil. Matters behind closed doors. Can I have a mover that we move Councillor Bromham, second, and Councillor Coleman? Put that to the vote. All those in favour? Move behind closed doors. Right to go. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. So we will now go back to item 12.5.1, which is the Shire of Harvey Community Wards. We've got a mover, Councillor Coleman, seconder, Councillor Holly. Is there going to be any further discussion in regards to this, councillors? If not, happy to put it to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Nil? Carried. Thank you. Alrighty. Councillors, no further discussion, no further business. I therefore thank you everybody for attending and declare the meeting closed.